The Krexan warships emerged from hyperspace in a cascade of blue-white light, their obsidian hulls gleaming against Earth's atmosphere. Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of the flagship Inevitable Dawn, his four eyes narrowing as he studied the primitive defenses arrayed before him. Satellites, chemical rockets, and antiquated fighter craft, barely worth noting in his conquest log. Another primitive world. He clicked his mandibles in amusement. Their most advanced weapons still rely on chemical propulsion. Pathetic. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Krell, brought up a holographic display of Earth's military capabilities. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Admiral, requesting diplomatic dialogue. They always do. Vexthor waved a clawed hand dismissively. They'll learn, as all others have, that the Krexan Empire doesn't negotiate with pre-FTL species. The Krexan had conquered 17 civilizations in the past century alone. Their quantum-aligned shield technology had never failed, capable of dispersing any known weapon's energy harmlessly into subspace. Earth would be their 18th conquest, barely a footnote in their expansive history. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that didn't officially exist, General Sarah Chen watched the alien fleet's approach on a wall of monitors. Unlike the public-facing military commands putting on a show of conventional defense, she knew humanity's true capabilities. "Status of the global defense grid?" she asked, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility. Dr. Marcus Webb, chief physicist of Project Oracle, looked up from his tablet. "All stations report ready, General, but we've never tested the system against actual alien technology. The quantum entanglement principles we're working with are still theoretical." Chen nodded grimly. "Theory will have to be enough. We've spent the last decade preparing for this moment, ever since we detected their first probe at the edge of our solar system. The public thought humanity had only achieved basic spaceflight and rudimentary particle physics. In reality, Earth's quantum physics programs had made breakthroughs that would shock even the Krexan, if they survived long enough to learn about them." Above, the alien fleet began its standard intimidation display. Individual ships broke formation, demonstrating their maneuverability as they easily dodged Earth's defensive missile launches. Each explosion against their shields created spectacular light shows, exactly as intended. "Primitive species are so predictable," Vexthor commented. "They waste their limited arsenal trying to prove their worth, never accepting the futility until it's too late." "Admiral," Krell interrupted, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface. They don't match any known weapon signatures." "Irrelevant." Vexthor dismissed the concern. "Their technology level is centuries behind ours. Prepare the main gun for a demonstration. We'll vaporize one of their smaller cities. That usually accelerates their surrender." In her underground command center, General Chen received the notification she'd been waiting for. The aliens had positioned themselves exactly where orbital calculations had predicted. Their arrogance made them predictable. "All Oracle sites. This is Control." She spoke into her quantum-encrypted comm system. "Begin power-up sequence. Remember your training. We get one shot at this." Around the globe, hidden facilities hummed to life. Deep in the oceans, buried in mountains, and hidden in plain sight as power plants and research stations, humanity's true defensive grid awakened. Decades of secret research, trillions in black-budget funding, and cooperation between nations that officially despised each other. All for this moment. Dr. Webb monitored the power readings with growing concern. "General, the energy levels are exceeding our simulations. The quantum field is becoming unstable." "Hold steady," Chen commanded. "We knew this was a possibility. The calculations show the field will stabilize once it reaches critical mass." Above, the Krexan fleet's sensors began registering the building energy, but their algorithms dismissed it as impossible. Pre-FTL civilizations simply couldn't generate quantum fields of that magnitude. Their computer systems, programmed with centuries of experience subjugating primitive worlds, filtered out the warnings as equipment malfunctions. It would prove to be their final mistake. Vexthor raised his hand, preparing to give the order that would demonstrate his fleet's overwhelming power. Target their city, designated Denver. Show these humans the futility of. He never finished the sentence. 10 years earlier, in a dimly lit conference room beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Marcus Webb stood before representatives from 23 nations. The room hummed with quiet tension as he displayed the grainy images captured by the Mars Deep Space Array. "These aren't natural anomalies," he explained, pointing to the distortions at the edge of the solar system. "They're quantum wake signatures from advanced propulsion systems. We're not alone, and they're coming." The assembled leaders shifted uncomfortably. They'd been summoned in total secrecy, many traveling under false pretenses. The Chinese premier leaned forward. "How certain are you of this analysis?" "Absolutely certain," Webb replied. "More importantly, we've decoded enough of their communications to know their intentions. The Kraxan Empire doesn't peacefully integrate other species. They conquer." General Chen, then a colonel, stood up. "Which is why Project Oracle isn't just another weapons program. It's humanity's survival insurance." The next decade saw the greatest secret collaboration in human history. While the public watched SpaceX launches and Mars missions, the real advances happened underground. Nations that officially despised each other shared their brightest minds and most closely guarded discoveries. In a hidden facility beneath the Indian Ocean, Dr. Amara Patil adjusted the quantum field parameters of the prototype. "The problem isn't generating the field," she explained to Webb over their secure link. "It's controlling it. We're trying to manipulate forces that the universe uses to hold reality together." Webb understood. They weren't just building a weapon. They were creating something that broke the supposed laws of physics. The Kraxan's shield technology dispersed energy attacks into subspace. Project Oracle would turn that strength into a weakness. "Their arrogance will be their downfall," Chen commented during one late-night strategy session. "They've conquered so many worlds, they've stopped looking for true innovation. They don't expect us to understand quantum mechanics, let alone weaponize it." The project suffered setbacks. The first full-scale test in the Sahara Desert created a temporary quantum singularity that nearly swallowed half of Egypt. 3 researchers died when a containment field collapsed in Antarctica. But humanity persevered, driven by the knowledge that failure meant extinction. They built the global network in plain sight. Quantum field generators disguised as power plants, control nodes hidden in undersea internet cables. The public thought they were getting upgraded infrastructure. Even most government officials believed they were funding conventional defense projects. Dr. Patel made the crucial breakthrough in year 7. The Kraxan shields work by shunting energy into subspace, she explained to the project leaders. But they have to maintain quantum coherence to do it. If we can disrupt that coherence at just the right frequency, their own shields will tear their ships apart. Webb finished, finally understanding. Like turning a protective bubble into a quantum shredder. The technology was unlike anything humanity had officially developed. While the world's militaries paraded their latest jets and missiles, the real defense of Earth lay in quantum mechanics and theoretical physics made real. General Chen oversaw the final preparations personally. She knew the Kraxan would come. It was just a question of when. The network had to be ready, the teams perfectly coordinated. A single mistake would mean failure, and humanity wouldn't get a second chance. "We're betting everything on this," Webb said one evening, looking at the latest simulation results. "If we're wrong about how their shields work." "We're not wrong," Chen interrupted. "The quantum wake signatures don't lie. Their entire technological base relies on manipulating subspace. They've gotten so good at it that they never considered it could be turned against them." The day the Kraxan fleet appeared in lunar orbit, Project Oracle was ready. Decades of preparation, countless sacrifices, and the combined intellectual might of humanity's greatest minds had created something unprecedented, a weapon that broke the rules the enemy thought were unbreakable. As Webb monitored the power-up sequence in the command center, he thought about all the colleagues who hadn't lived to see this day. The researchers who died in accidents, the security teams who eliminated infiltrators and took their secrets to the grave, the politicians who risked everything to maintain the deception. The Kraxan thought they were facing a primitive species armed with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology. It was its capacity to innovate in the face of extinction. And now, as the alien fleet positioned itself for the killing blow, that innovation was about to be demonstrated in spectacular fashion. The Kraxan fleet's first strike came without warning. Brilliant beams of energy lanced down from their ships, targeting military installations across the globe. Where they hit, matter simply ceased to exist, leaving perfect circular craters half a mile deep. Admiral Vexthor watched with satisfaction as Earth's visible defenses crumbled. Primitive species always build their weapons where we can see them, he commented to his bridge crew. It makes them so easy to eliminate. But deep in their underground command center, General Chen and her team watched calmly. The surface installations were meant to be destroyed, each one drawing Kraxan fire away from Project Oracle's true components. All Oracle sites report nominal power levels, Dr. Webb announced, his eyes fixed on the quantum field readings. The enemy's weapons fire is actually helping us. Their matter conversion beams are creating the exact quantum instabilities we need. Chen nodded. They're so convinced of their superiority, they're doing half our work for us. Status of the global defense grid. 97% operational, Dr. Paddle reported from her station. The quantum field generators are drawing power faster than we predicted, but the containment systems are holding. Above, the Kraxan fleet began their standard conquest pattern, spreading out to establish orbital dominance. Their sensors detected the energy buildup from Project Oracle's facilities, but interpreted it as desperation, the death throes of a primitive civilization trying to power up its last defenses. Admiral, Sub-Commander Krell reported, I'm detecting unusual quantum fluctuations across the planet's surface. The patterns don't match any known weapon signatures. Vexthor chittered in amusement. Of course not. They're barely past nuclear fission. Their attempts to harness quantum mechanics are like children playing with fire, dangerous only to themselves. The fleet's primary weapons charged again, preparing to eliminate Earth's remaining military infrastructure. But this time, something was different. The quantum fields generated by their matter conversion beams weren't dispersing properly. In the command center, Webb watched the readings with growing excitement. It's working. Their weapons fire is creating quantum entanglement points exactly where we need them. Every shot they take strengthens our field. Begin Phase 2, Chen ordered. Around the globe, hidden facilities activated their secondary systems. The quantum field generators weren't just passive receivers anymore. They were starting to resonate at specific frequencies. Krell's sensor displays erupted with warnings. Admiral, the quantum fluctuations are intensifying. They're forming some kind of coherent pattern, but that should be impossible for their technology level. Impossible or not, it's happening, Chen murmured, watching the tactical displays. Humanity didn't just prepare for this invasion. We've spent a decade setting a trap. Status of the quantum resonance field. 80% of critical mass and climbing, Paddle reported. The Kraxan weapons fire is accelerating the process. Every shot that they take feeds more energy into our system. Vexthor finally began to sense that something was wrong. The quantum distortions weren't dissipating as they should. Instead, they were growing stronger, forming connections between points across the planet's surface. Recall the strike squadrons, he ordered. Something about this situation doesn't follow established patterns. But it was too late. The quantum web was already forming, invisible lines of force connecting every Project Oracle facility into a single planet-spanning array. The very weapons the Kraxan used to destroy Earth's decoy defenses had provided the energy needed to power humanity's real defense system. We're approaching critical mass, Webb announced, his voice tense with anticipation. The quantum field is stabilizing at exactly the right frequency. All we need now is for them to fire one more time. Above, Vex-Thor felt the first tremor of real concern. His sensors were showing impossible readings, quantum fields orders of magnitude more powerful than any pre-FTL civilization should be capable of generating. "Cancel the next strike," he commanded. "Something's wrong. These humans aren't behaving like any primitive species we've encountered." But even as he gave the order, automated defense systems on 3 of his ships detected what they interpreted as incoming missiles. Following standard protocols, they fired their point defense weapons. It was exactly what Project Oracle had been waiting for. "Quantum resonance achieved," Webb shouted. "The field is stable and synchronized with their shield frequencies." Chen's voice was steady as she gave the order humanity had spent a decade preparing for. "All Oracle sites, this is Control. Execute final phase. I repeat, execute final phase." The trap was sprung. Now they would see if humanity's greatest gamble would pay off, or if they had doomed themselves by attempting the impossible. The quantum resonance wave rippled outward from Earth's surface, invisible to normal sensors, but blindingly bright on quantum scanning equipment. Admiral Vex-Thor watched in growing horror as his ship's diagnostic systems began reporting impossible readings. "The quantum field is interfering with our shield harmonics," Krell reported, mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. "It's matching our frequency and amplifying it somehow." In the underground command center, Dr. Webb's hands flew across his control panel. "The quantum entanglement is holding. Their shields are trying to compensate, but they can't break free of the resonance pattern." General Chen watched the tactical display intently. This was the moment everything hinged on, the culmination of a decade of work and sacrifice. "Begin the frequency shift." Nice and slow, exactly like in the simulations. Project Oracle's true nature was finally revealed. It wasn't a weapon in the conventional sense. It was something far more sophisticated. The global network of quantum field generators had created a massive entanglement web, linking with the Kraxen's own shield frequencies. "Admiral," Krell's voice rose in panic. "The humans, they're not just generating quantum fields, they're manipulating them with precision. This is impossible for their technological level." Vex-Thor stared at the readings in disbelief. The primitive species he dismissed as barely worth conquering had somehow mastered quantum mechanics at a level that rivaled the Kraxen's own understanding. "Emergency shutdown of all shield systems," he ordered. But it was too late. The quantum entanglement was complete. Project Oracle wasn't trying to break through their shields. It was turning the shields themselves into weapons. "Field synchronization at 99.9%, Dr. Patil announced. "Ready to initiate the cascade effect." The principle was elegantly simple, even if the execution had required technological breakthroughs that had pushed human science to its limits. The Kraxen's shields worked by shunting energy into subspace. Project Oracle would force them to shunt their own mass instead. "By all the stars," Krell whispered, watching his displays. "Their quantum field, it's not attacking our shields, it's becoming our shields." The Kraxen fleet hung suspended in Earth's orbit, trapped in a quantum web of their own making. Every attempt to power down their shields only strengthened the connection. Every emergency protocol they tried only fed more energy into Project Oracle's carefully crafted trap. "Now," Chen commanded, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. Dr. Webb initiated the final sequence. The quantum field generators around the globe pulsed in perfect harmony, sending a carefully calculated frequency shift through the entanglement web. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. The Kraxen's shield frequencies, forced into resonance with Project Oracle's quantum field, began to fluctuate wildly. But instead of dispersing energy into subspace as designed, they started pulling it in. "Admiral," Krell's voice was almost a shriek now. "The shields, they're inverting. The subspace fold is collapsing." Vex-Thor watched in horror as the impossible happened. His mighty fleet, protected by technology that had conquered 17 civilizations, was being torn apart by its own defensive systems. The shields didn't fail. They imploded, taking massive chunks of their ships with them into subspace. In the command center, the Project Oracle team watched their decade of work reach its culmination. The quantum cascade effect spread from ship to ship, each shield collapse feeding energy into the next. The Kraxan believed their shields made them invincible, Webb said quietly, watching the destruction. They never imagined someone could turn that certainty against them. The flagship Inevitable Dawn was the last to go. As his ship began to break apart around him, Admiral Vexthor finally understood. The humans hadn't just prepared for this invasion. They had revolutionized their understanding of physics specifically to counter the Kraxan's greatest strength. How? He transmitted on all frequencies as his bridge began to collapse. "You're supposed to be primitives." General Chen's response was picked up by the few Kraxan communication systems still functioning. "You thought our visible technology represented all we were capable of. You never considered that we might be hiding our true capabilities, waiting for the right moment. That was your final mistake." The quantum cascade reached its peak. In a final, spectacular display of physics gone wrong, the remaining Kraxan ships vanished into subspace, pulled apart by their own inverted shields. The mighty invasion fleet had been defeated not by brute force, but by human ingenuity and the patience to set the perfect trap. As the last quantum echoes faded from their sensors, Dr. Webb looked at General Chen. It worked exactly as designed. The Kraxan's own shield technology destroyed them more thoroughly than any conventional weapon could have. Chen nodded grimly. And now the galaxy knows. Humanity isn't as primitive as they thought. The question is, what do we do with that knowledge? 3 months after the Kraxan fleet's destruction, General Chen stood before the United Nations Security Council. The room was packed with representatives from every nation that had participated in Project Oracle, along with observers from countries that were only now learning the truth. "The quantum residue has finally dissipated from Earth's orbit," she reported. "Our sensors confirm that the Kraxan fleet was completely destroyed, not scattered or disabled. Destroyed. Their own shield technology guaranteed that nothing survived to be salvaged." The Chinese premier leaned forward. "And what of the rest of their empire? Surely they will seek revenge for this defeat." Dr. Webb stepped up to the podium. "According to the data we gathered from their communications, the fleet that attacked Earth was their primary expedition force. The Kraxan Empire relied heavily on their technological superiority. They never needed large numbers of ships when their shields made them virtually invincible. Until they met us," someone muttered from the audience. The aftermath of the battle had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The few surviving automated Kraxan probes had transmitted news of their defeat back to their empire. A primitive, pre-FTL civilization had not only resisted their invasion, but had turned their greatest strength into a weapon against them. "We're already detecting changes in local space," Dr. Puddle reported, bringing up a holographic display. "Other alien civilizations are adjusting their trajectories to avoid our solar system. The destruction of the Kraxan fleet has made them cautious." That was an understatement. Humanity had just demonstrated the ability to destroy supposedly invincible ships using their own technology against them. The message was clear. Earth was not the easy target it appeared to be. "What concerns me," the Russian president spoke up, "is what happens now. We can't hide our true technological capabilities anymore. The quantum physics breakthroughs we achieved with Project Oracle, they change everything." General Chen nodded. "That's why we're here. Project Oracle wasn't just a weapon. It was proof that humanity could achieve the impossible when we worked together. The question is, do we continue that cooperation, or do we retreat back into our separate corners?" The debate that followed would shape human civilization for generations to come. The technology developed for Project Oracle had applications far beyond weapons. Quantum field manipulation, once mastered, could revolutionize energy production, space travel, even the fundamental way humans interacted with the universe. "We stand at a crossroads," Webb addressed the assembly. "The Kraxan threatened us because they thought we were primitive. We proved them wrong by advancing our science in secret, but now we have a choice. Do we keep hiding our capabilities, or do we show the galaxy what humanity can really achieve? In orbit, crews were already adapting Project Oracle's technology for peaceful purposes. The quantum field generators that had trapped and destroyed the Kraxan fleet were being modified to create stable wormholes. Humanity's first faster-than-light drive would use the same principles they had used to defend their world. The galaxy won't ignore us anymore, Chen said. The Kraxan's defeat ensures that, but we can choose what kind of interstellar civilization we become. Will we be known only for our ability to destroy, or will we show that our greatest strength is our capacity to innovate and grow? The answer came not from the political leaders, but from the scientific community. Within weeks of the battle, research papers on quantum mechanics that had been kept secret for a decade began to appear in journals worldwide. The knowledge that had saved Earth was being shared, analyzed, and built upon. 6 months after the invasion, the first human-made quantum drive activated. Using principles reverse-engineered from studying the Kraxan's shield technology, humanity achieved what their enemies had thought impossible. They had gone from a pre-FTL civilization to an interstellar species in less than a year. They thought our visible technology represented our limits, Dr. Paddle remarked, watching the first quantum drive ship break orbit. They never understood that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our ability to adapt and overcome. The Kraxan's defeat had changed the galaxy's perception of Earth, but it had also changed humanity's perception of itself. They had faced extinction and survived not through brute force, but through innovation, cooperation, and the patience to set the perfect trap. As General Chen watched the quantum ship disappear into its first controlled wormhole, she thought about the message they had sent to the galaxy. Earth wasn't just another primitive world to be conquered. They were a species that could match the most advanced technology with their own innovations, and they were only just beginning to show what they could do. The age of hiding was over. Humanity was ready to take its place among the stars, not as conquerors like the Kraxan, but as innovators who had proved that even the most advanced technology could be countered by those willing to think differently. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.